water and salt in the sea is also in you and me. The waves come and go, and we are pushed to grow. But we can see with our hearts there's more than the sum of its parts.
Let's go!
Ready to go, Danny?
Yes, Daddy, let's go!
Excited! What do you want to say? T-A-R-A, Tara, S-A-I-D-Y-O-U-A-L-S-O-S-T-U-D-Y-R-A-Y-S.
Express with that.
Tara said you also study race.
Yes. I studied specifically the local fisheries for rays. I initially focused on historical, like what they did before when it was still legal to catch them. That was like in the 60s, 70s, but by the same time as the dolphins were protected, manta rays were protected. But they did not include the smaller rays. So I was very interested in the history, how they hunted them, on the culture behind it, and how I wanted to prove how important the fishery was to those people who were hunting them. And then the laws changed in the very recently, where they protected all the species of mobula rays.
Yeah.
So I was also trying to help the community, trying to figure out like how much they were catching, just to prove to the government that it wasn't really that big enough to be significant in terms of endangering the population. But we don't know the numbers. No one was really studying population abundance. And then also again trying to prove how important it is to the community in terms of livelihood. So unfortunately, the ban came in 2016, so no fishing now for any mobula rays. So that community has stopped fishing. So they had not recovered. They still haven't recovered.
Yeah.
And they haven't really replaced it. There are some who stayed in fisheries, but using gill nets.
Oh, yeah.
Which honestly is a lot worse for other species, including marine mammals. So it's not as good. And there's still bycatch of rays until now.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Joe and I have talked about this pretty much whenever we meet, is conservation is not just, we're going to protect this animal now. There's people's rights and well-being involved. There's kind of the larger system. Everything's connected. If you change one thing, you might make a lot of other things worse. So it's a shame that it had to end up that way. But I think it's really interesting that she studies the communities just as much as the rays. Hi.
So.
Oh.
I'm so interested to
Learn.
learn more about this kind of situation.
I'm so interested to learn more about this kind of situation.
Exhibit what that.
Yeah, and I think it happens a lot.
Yeah. a lot of people don't want to talk about it. That's
Yeah.
what I find.
Yeah, because I think there's this idea that if you're doing conservation, you must be doing absolute good
Yeah.
because your motives are good, at least where certain animals or usually it's animals are involved. But you can still have detrimental impacts.
On people, and they don't
Yeah.
want to talk about people. They want to talk about just the animals. So,
Wow, I'm so, I'm so disappointed. Disappointed
Mm-hmm.
to hear, to, oh,
To hear that you got.
to hear that. Exhibit done and done,
Yeah.
done and done.
it's just like that, unfortunately. Like even in conferences, right? Like they say
Yeah.
they want to talk about it, but they don't really want to talk about it. Yes, they want you to present, but then after that, that's it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when we were at the Barcelona conference 2 years ago, I had the team from Myanmar who you interviewed, Munte and Yin Yin and Angnan. So they come from a human research background. And even after the first day, Yin Yin was like, they don't talk very much about people here. And this is her first international conference, and she was already like with everything that's overwhelming happening, she was able to make that observation very quickly. But I think it's changing slowly, but it's changing, especially with the younger generations of researchers coming in, I hope. AREYOU. HOPEFU. Are you hopeful?
We're up for for green,
Mm-hmm.
green, green. Conservation in
Mm-hmm.
in you in your country.
Are you
Christopher,
hopeful for marine
Good.
conservation in your country? Question mark.
London.
Okay. That's a tough question. Okay. I would say I would like to be hopeful, worse, but yes, I'm hopeful for the people who are working in conservation
Mm,
and the younger generation. So I think that's the good thing about the generation now. Like they're
Yeah.
so creative, like especially the how they use social media is just amazing. And I think I don't know if you follow the one in Dumaguete, the no to I shouldn't remember this tagline. No to 174.
No, is that the reclamation?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's the perfect example. Like if you have a chance to look it up
Yeah.
on Facebook, it's run by a group of really young people, and
Yeah.
they're amazing when they're coming out with all these infographics and
Yeah.
how they like they're so active.
Yeah.
And I just wished that when I first heard about that, like I wished we had a same group as them back up north.
Yeah.
It would make so much difference. And they've already been running this campaign for I believe almost 6 months.
Yeah,
Because
it
they
has been
started
that
in
long.
July, I think.
Yeah.
July or June. And they just won't give up, which is great.
Yeah.
So, and the people who are proposing to build this reclamation, I think they're about to give up.
Oh,
So,
that would be good.
so if it wasn't for this young group, I think that would have just gone through.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the generation now is just, I think it's amazing. So I'm hopeful about that, definitely.
I think the Philippines is one of the places where, maybe because it's one of the places where I spent the most time for my research. I've heard of some of the most ridiculous development projects. You're like, why would you build like this super? What are you looking at? Oh, why would you build this like, super intensive development that destroys the natural environment of some of the most beautiful spots? Okay, like maybe you can build them somewhere where there's nothing else there. If you're making a huge resort, like amusement park.
Yeah.
You coming back, dude?
Yes.
But to like build it in places where you already have
Yeah.
things already there to attract people. Oh, he's getting some water or tea. Yeah, I'm glad that one's maybe
That was
on the way
just so
up.
ridiculous when I first heard that. And, like, I think everyone reacted the same way. And like how the politicians and the proponents kept insisting.
Yeah.
Like despite like this is like random people. These are not even like marine biologists or whatever.
Yeah.
Like random people just going in the water, taking photos of the reef just to prove to this
That there's a reef.
mayor there is a reef there and there's like so much life there and there's fisheries and because they kept insisting there's nothing there, everything's dead. Yeah, anyway, it's just ridiculous when you hear people talk like that. What is wrong with you? And like
Yeah.
everyone else is saying that you're wrong and they just refuse to admit it.
Yeah. Well, that shows the importance of something like citizen science because if there's no one to point out any differently, like why wouldn't like, oh, they're saying it's all dead, okay, like
Yeah.
so it's good to have that other narrative. Hi, Mister, welcome back. So Danny has really amazing hearing, so he probably heard all of that, right? INPEEDII. Indeed, I did.
Exhibit done.
You want to sit down, bud? We can finish soon if you're getting antsy. I think you had a really nice conversation so far. Lots of good material.
So I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Getting getting rest. I'm getting restless. This. I'm getting restless because.
I'm sorry, I'm getting restless because I am so. Go ahead.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited about about the about this issue.
Issues.
Issues.
Because I'm so excited about these issues and ideas.
Exhibits, but done.
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't depress you or anything because it does to me. It does get that affects me. So
it's a hard balance. I've told you how I feel about people who say ocean optimism. I was like, no, I don't want to see that hashtag one more time. Because if you're not an optimist, they think you're a pessimist, and I'm like, no, I'm a realist. Yeah.
Totally.
What do you think of that feeling of kind of despair, and how do you balance that?
It is so tough, but I am so inspired by
It is tough, but I'm so inspired by
people.
Mm-hmm.
By people like
you. I'm so inspired by people like you. Mm-hmm. THE, okay. W O R K Y O U D, and the work you do.
Exhibit done.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's hard work, but yeah, we try. Try to be positive.
Our dad used to say, it's a tough life, but someone has to do it.
It's true. So, yeah.
Okay.
It did you start
How did you start?
Getting in getting interested in in marine.
Yeah, I got it.
We answer Question.
How did you start getting interested in marine conservation? Question mark.
Dun.
It's a long story. The shortcut is from work.
Okay.
So when I really wanted to be a wildlife veterinarian. But in the Philippines back then, there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So when I was looking for a job, I found out that there was a WWF in the Philippines.
Okay.
So I walked into their office and volunteered. They didn't have an opening. So that's where I learned everything about marine conservation, not on books. I didn't really study marine biology and not about conservation. I didn't know anything. I can't remember knowing anything about conservation even in general before I started working for WWF. That's also I learned about whales and other marine mammals also from work. I just studied on my own and from people like Luella and Bill.
Yeah.
So it's like it's how do you call it? Serendipity.
Yeah.
So it just so happens there was WWF, there was an opportunity to volunteer, there was a project that was available that I could work on as a volunteer, and that's how I learned about everything. So.
Wow. Love you. Love you. Love you. Love you.
I don't know. W-O.
Love you.
A woman.
Remember any skills. Exhibit tata.
Yeah. You want to
Tata.
You're doing great, honey. You're doing awesome.
Thank you. I don't know if you can call that skills, but yes, I studied a lot of skills.
I think you can call it.
Done.
Very highly trained skills. Good.
Do you use your
Bet.
fit training? Tata.
Do you use your vet training?
Another very good question. I don't use it as much as I want to, but I do get to use it more when I deal with stranding. So yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're doing great, honey. Yeah. And she takes care of the different animals, like the different cats and dogs that hang around her field sites.
That's my only actual veterinary practice, like my own pets.
But it's, I mean, I called you once from Myanmar when we had a really sad incident with a dog, and I was like, Joan, what did I do? So we actually all need someone like Joan around everywhere, for even just for cases like that, apart from marine conservation.
Totally. Totally. And then my last question.
And my last question. Okay, my last question.
How are you? My last question. How are you?
How are you? What do I say? After you? Let's start at how. HOWAREYOU GOING
How are you going? How we
TOMOBEFORWARD.
go
Okay, how are you going to move forward
Move forward with
Baliana.org. Question mark. How are you going to move forward with Baliana.org? Question mark.
Done.
Yes, that's a big question for the past 2 years, especially because of the pandemic. Yeah, so right now everything is like suspended except for fundraising. So we're still working on our fundraising. The newest plan now is just to Aside from, we do have 2 proposals that we're waiting for results. We hope to hear this month before Christmas. I
Good
hope.
luck.
Yeah. So if we get that, then it's good news for the humpback work and the blue whale work.
Okay.
If we don't, we still plan to continue the monitoring, but we do it like shorter period. We do have some savings. So it's unfortunately that way, but it's really dependent on funding.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big question mark for 2022 what we're gonna do because it's seasonal most of our work. But we are trying to get new ideas. So the newest one is we're trying to get like influencers local to promote Baliana and our fundraising work, and hopefully that will give more attention to the work that we're doing and hopefully get us some funding.
Yeah.
I'm wishing you. I wish you great fun fundraising success,
I'm wishing you great fundraising success.
and I am so hoping.
Okay, I'm so hoping I can visit the whale one day. I'm so hoping I can visit the whales one day.
Done.
Me too.
Yeah. It would be great. Like you would enjoy it, I think. Like in the islands and see the whales.
Yeah. We went to see the gray whales in Mexico last year. Loved it. Every time we saw a whale.
Oh, you love humpback whale breeding grounds.
What do you want to say? LETS.
Let's run it. Exhibition done.
Let's plan on it. Yeah, it sounds good to me.
It's the season.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay.
It started.
Okay. All right, dude.
You just have to hope the borders are open.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Maybe next year. So can I say? So I can say.
You were such a little show off.
What?
Maraming?
Wow.
Maraming.
How did you even know that?
Maraming.
Salamat.
Salamat and Salamating.
And ingat.
Oh.
Ka. Ingat ka lagi.
Danny,
how did you know that? Exclamation point.
Wow, I'm impressed.
So can I say maraming salamat and ingat ka
Ingat ka.
lagi?
Walang anuman. You're welcome. And salamat din.
Why? Hey, why?
Express what? Done. All
right, so are we done? Y-E-S.
Done.
Okay.
Done and done.
Say bye.
What we can see with our hearts is more than the sum of its parts. What we can see with our hearts is more than the sum of its parts.